This is the Keep Hammering Collective with John Barklow. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Clothing is your first line of defense against the elements ever since the first caveman put on a loincloth, right? So what I appreciate is like I can come in, build great gear that for something I'm passionate about and then other people are passionate about. And then when you get those aha moments, like we were talking about, like, man, I don't have to be cold and wet. It's like, no, you don't. You can actually go out and like actually kind of focus and have fun. I just kind of wanted to like talk about how I approach things, because I've thought about it long enough. I try to break it down into its simplest form, and then like some of the technology we use, and then some fairly unique things I think we do that I think you'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're performance oriented, and like some of the things that I think we can just work with you on going forward, I think you'd really kind of think is cool.
Yeah.
And we don't really talk about some of this stuff very much. Like I'm going to show you what we call split garments and how we test. Like how we test is such a big part of what we do, but it's all behind the scenes. And, you know, unless we talk about it, nobody's ever going to know, but I think we should get some credit for it.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. It's, you know, we've been doing this for a long time, and I'll just go over my journey real quick. When I first started, I killed a spike bull in '89, but I used to buy camo at Action Surplus, right? And I remember I bought these wool pants that were probably 2 times as big as I needed, and I had a shoelace to do. But I'm like, I have wool, dude. Do you know how serious wool is? This is what rich people wear.
Yeah.
And before that, it was like there was no Walmart, I don't think, but that's kind of where you got camo. It was just cotton, just, you know, tree bark on it probably, and then there was some Predator, which was like, oh, Predator for out west, this is sick, but still all cotton. And then all of a sudden, this performance stuff started coming in, but it was years after I had been bow hunting. I mean, many years. And, you know, then it was like, oh, well, there's this better material. We're like, what do you mean? Like, what material? What's that going to do? And then it was just like Under Armour came on, but saw them at SHOT Show in like 2003 or 4. And they had that first like tight that you'd wear under football pads, but they're like, Randy White was up there in a big picture, and he had a Super Bowl ring and stuff.
I remember that, yeah.
And just looked jacked. And they're like, it's brown. So it's like, now you can wear this for hunting, because look, it's brown. And that was the first that I remember of kind of the wicking, that type of thought of like, this will, if you get wet, it'll wick. If you're sweating, it'll wick. And you're just like, that's where this technology first started to come. And I don't know when Sitka got on the scene, but I'll just say that I've tried, you know, obviously I was with Under Armour for a long time, then Origin, you know, with Jocko as the co-founder of their camo line, and, you know, things happen in business. And we got to where I talked to everybody about, okay, the Origin thing wasn't working out. What am I going to do? Talk to everybody, right? Talk to Steve with First Light, talk to you guys, talk to Born Primitive, because I hate switching around. I want to make good decisions, and I just want to focus on hunting. So we formed this partnership with Sitka, and I didn't know anybody at Sitka other than you. And I've known you, seen you in hunting camp, watch your, you know, you do your social media thing, which for us, like social media at our age is like, it's like probably not the most natural thing, but you love to talk about gear and educate people. Yeah. So you just do what you do, right? And set the camera up and it's good. And so I know that. I'm like, no, well, fucking John knows his shit. So whatever he's saying, cool. I wasn't working with Sitka, but I'd watch your stuff. Now I am. And so I finally got like the chance to use the equipment and gear and clothing that you design. And this year has been like, I was telling you earlier, I didn't know you didn't have to be miserable out hunting. I thought, yeah, we're just cold and wet and miserable, and that's just the way it goes. Then I was like, you Sitka for late season blacktail, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could actually enjoy this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, you know, spring bear and things like that. But I've just really been impressed with, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but it is so good, dude. It is so good. It's amazing. I used it even in my race, that long Cocodona run. I was wearing Sitka because in that it's all performance. It's got to be light. It's got to be warm. It was raining, this and that. It has to be the best. And that was like a verification of what I was learning on my first hunts wearing it. And I'm like blown away.
When I saw the pieces you were wearing on that race, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I would have worn too. You know, so like you either intuitively figured it out, but it certainly worked for you. So first of all, I say Sitka is an investment. It's an investment in your hunting future. Like that's how you should look at your bow, your rifle, like any of it, right? And your clothing aside. Eight pieces of clothing is all anybody really needs. Doesn't matter if you're mule deer, elk hunting, whitetail hunting, waterfowl hunting, it doesn't matter. Like 8 pieces is about what you need. It always starts with a base layer. So base layer is like the foundation of this house. Like build a weak base layer, everything else you build on top of that, it's not going to work very well, right? So really all you're trying to do with modern clothing is manage moisture. And that's either from the inside out via sweat or outside in, like from rain or snow. So that helps you regulate your body heat. And then that puffy jacket assists with that, right? So all you're trying to do is manage moisture. Really not very complicated. That's all the base layer does.
Okay.
Something super lightweight. You sweat in a cold environment, it's going to pull it off your skin. If your skin's warm and dry, you're going to be warm and dry.
Right.
In a hot environment, so say down at San Carlos or something, it's going to move that moisture and pull heat away through evaporative cooling. So either way, it works.
Yeah.
This is the biggest mistake people make is like they buy some great stuff from say Sitka, and then they wear their, you know, cotton briefs and t-shirt, and then they're like, why am I cold? I had this actually happen years ago in a whitetail camp. And so, you know, base layer, you have synthetic wool. This is treated with insect shield. So I don't know if you guys had this for your bear hunt, but like,
that would have been nice.
You know, keeping bugs away. So not just a chemical treatment, but also the fabric doesn't allow the mosquito to like put his nose through and bite you.
Really? Even as thin as this is?
It's crazy, right? Wow. And so there's a mechanical and a chemical property to that. So,
this is so light.
But it gives you options. So you have synthetic, you have wool, you have stuff with insect shield. You know, I just like to say it's shooter's choice. Like it doesn't really matter. Just pick something. Just pick some kind of technical base layer. And then everything you put on top of that, which is really an investment, is going to work better. And then you got pants, right? And so soft shell pants are really they're kind of your uniform. They're, you know, it's something you put on and probably don't take off when you're, you know, living out of a backpack. And you have so many options there. Removable knee pads, non-removable knee pads, hip vents, you know, whatever. This pant here, the Intercept pant, is what you said you were bear hunting in?
Yeah.
Crazy quiet, high performance, durable, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like if you're a bow hunter, like the Intercept pant to me is like, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
And then we got, you know, this new pant coming out with hip vents. This pant here, this is a new pant as well, but like really crazy lightweight. But when we were testing that originally, you know, I put it on 2 guys going on Cape Buffalo hunts, and they killed, you know, after 10 days or whatever. And they sent me back the pants, and I was like, hey, did you guys even wear them? And they're like, yeah, we sent you the kill photos. And I'm like, dude, they still look brand new.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, just if you're out there in a lightweight pair of pants because it's super hot and they fall off and get shredded from the knee down, like who cares, right? Like you wasted your money, right? So, but soft shell pants are a really important part.
Being on your knees, like for an elk, for any animal, they're way less inclined to be spooked by a human on their knees than the standing profile of a silhouette of a human. They're so used to seeing that and being alarmed. When you're on your knees, especially if you're by a tree, and it's just, you can get away with so much more. So if knee pads help you, because people are like, might be they got sore knees or whatever, or it's hard to get down and up for some people. So they're like, I'm just going to stand. That could cost you that opportunity.
Yeah.
If you would have been on your knees, and maybe the knee pads that come with some of these garments here, maybe that would have allowed you to make that decision, and that would allow you to kill that bull of a lifetime again. It's these little tiny decisions that can make the difference on what you've been dreaming about your whole life. And one thing about pants, and pants have been like a thorn in my side for a long time, because it is hard finding a perfect bow hunting pant. A lot of times, like I remember back in the Under Armour days, the bottoms of the pants were too big. And it's like, it's not like I walk where I'm hitting my, it's a pet peeve of mine. So my pants aren't swishing together. But when they get wet and they're like, it's just weight kind of moving around again, it's not efficient, it's irritating.
Yep.
So I always wanted, like, one time they had a version that was kind of like, it was called Ridge Reaper. And I was like, finally. And it's like, they stopped making it. And that was the only good pant I've had for 100 million years until these pants. And it's like, pants for a bow hunter, if you're active in the mountains, they have to, it's critical that they work like they're supposed to. And to me, they're form fitting and athletic. And the pants that I wore on this last bear hunt, perfect bow hunting pant.
So we were talking a little bit about this. So there's two kinds of insulation. There's active insulation, which is what you're going to wear when you're moving. So I believe that was one of the pieces you're wearing on the Cocodona.
Yeah, I love this. This it is amazing how warm. This reminds me of, like, remember the old jean jackets with the sheepskin like everybody had back in high school? But it's kind of like that, but it is so light and so warm. And I could run with this, and it was raining. I was out there for hours, and whatever you guys did here, wet, it still kept me warm. Yeah,
we actually developed that insulation with Primaloft many years ago, and it was just, heavyweight fleece, grid fleece, things like that. Like that's a basic form of active insulation, but it doesn't really shed any precipitation or anything. And like, we knew it could be more durable. And so anyways, we built these are different weights of the same thing. And like I was telling you earlier, you could take that, soak it in a bucket of water, put it on, and go for a run. And in 45 minutes, probably sooner, just with your body heat, pushing that moisture out, that garment is going to be completely dry. Mm-hmm. So you're like, cool, that's great performance. But like, that could be the difference in saving your life.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
And then there's just different kinds. So this is the Alpha Fleece. It just came out, right? So depending on what you're doing, and but these are all types of active insulation. So just to give people those options.
Yeah.
And because not everything's going to be perfect for everyone, and people do things differently. So you want to give options. But this ambient, so that's the ambient 75. That's the ambient 100. Those are two of my absolute favorite pieces. They're quiet enough to hunt in. I mean, I've killed whitetail and elk and mule deer wearing those.
This on the outside is so quiet.
Yeah.
And I put that down under this when it got cold and I was super wet. Because the shell on the down is a little scratchy.
Yeah, it's not going to get you.
But this stuff,
danger close.
I mean, dead quiet.
Yeah. So this is something kind of unique, and I don't know if you got that piece or not, but
I haven't seen this one.
So I think one of the most overlooked pieces within a clothing system is a Windstop Layer.
Yeah.
So
definitely,
if you understand that wind strips body heat through convective cooling, that you understand, well, I got to block the wind.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys who are in the mountains, Outcon, they're like, well, I'll just put on my rain jacket. But rain jackets are not normally like quiet.
Yeah.
Right. So guys are asking me all the time, like, hey man, how do I stalk a mountain goat or sheep in the mountains when it's like, kind of misty or like high humidity or maybe a little snow? And I'm like, Windstopper. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes, so this is the Mountain Evo jacket, super thin Windstopper, no insulation. I'll have this on, and then that ambient 100 or 75, like I put it right over top, and I built it that way. So like, this will still give you that great like range of motion to draw your bow and like do all the athletic things you need to do. But then you put that ambient over top. So I block in the wind, but now I can, keep quiet with the ambient, but I can also reverse them. So let's say I'm hiking, but now maybe it's starting to rain a little bit more or snow a little bit more, I can put this wind stopper on the outside and it's going to shed most of that precipitation.
Okay.
Not rain gear, but I
Yeah.
say it's like probably 85% solution is wind stopper. And you know, not a lot of people know about it.
What I noticed is I could put on these layers and I can still draw my bow, because I was so used to having, not talking about any brand specifically, but
Yeah.
to me, I just had to put on more stuff if it was colder. You used to put on more stuff and then a jacket over the top. It's like, there's sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I can draw this freaking bow when
Yeah.
I'm cold. This, for whatever you've done with the range of motion and the layering and maybe just a higher quality design or more thought put into it, I could have on 4 different things, which given the circumstance you might have to, and still draw my bow easily.
Yep.
That,
Because what's the point if you're not going to be able to draw your
I
bow?
mean,
Like, why are you out there?
that is huge.
Yeah.
That it's like, it's so, I think I told you at that time, it's like, this stuff's incredible as far as layering goes.
You hear that all the time. It's like, you know, buck of a lifetime walks by, guy can't draw his bow, right? Or, you know, or he has bowstring clearance, or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it is, because he hasn't practiced wearing all that stuff. So it's like, we want to give the minimum effective dose, but like not so much that you just can't be that athlete.
Yeah. For that tree stand hunt, I mean, whatever that has the zipper that goes sideways.
Yeah, the Fanatic.
That shit is so warm,
The
dude.
Fanatic.
That jacket is so warm. That was the one that sent me over the top, where I didn't know I didn't have to be miserable.
When we build a puffy jacket, I don't want to just build a puffy jacket. Like, we got some new insulation, down insulation, right? And this stuff literally has gold dust on it. Like, literally.
Yeah, can we actually, here, can you hand me that new jacket and then my old jacket? Like, I think you just were talking about this. So, is this one mine?
Yeah.
Okay, this one, I was like, this jacket is sick, right? And this is like, I thought this was a sick puffy jacket. This isn't the camo, the money puffy that I was talking about, but I thought
this one.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
This is the new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me the difference. I was impressed with this one. Tell me the difference between this one and the new one.
Yeah. So when you're talking puffy jackets, static insulation, they're designed when you're just kind of sitting there, right? Like behind the glass in camp, you know, on the stump or the lawn chair or whatever. And you're just trying to be really stingy with giving up your body heat. So that's why they're kind of lofty. But when you start to look at the insulations, you kind of have 2 choices, synthetic and down.
Okay.
Okay. So this black one is synthetic, and it's the most highly performance driven synthetic insulation that I know of in the world. Right. But this down is what I just talked to you about, which is super lightweight, super compressible, super warm. But one of the kind of downsides of down is if it gets wet. You guys live in coastal Oregon.
Yeah.
You were just up in a wet area in Alberta. That it can get wet, and then those feathers, they just lose their loft, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as they lose that puffiness, they lose their warmth. And so this down insulation literally has this gold dust and water repellent treatment to it, to where if it does get wet, it's going to resist kind of that compression, and then it'll dry quicker than any other down. So all of a sudden I can say, no, hey Cam, that's a perfect jacket for you to take on your moose hunt, on your bear hunt, on your elk hunt. Like, you can just take that and don't have to think about it. Like, just put it on, it's going to keep you warm. This jacket is an incredible jacket, not nearly as warm as this, but this jacket I could soak in a bucket of water, you know, swim to shore, whatever, and it's going to keep me warm. But when you talk synthetic insulations, it's not going to be quite as lightweight or as compressible, right? So there's always a give and take. There's always choices.
Right.
I would say the black one, the synthetic, I call it the pickup truck. It's like the thing you're going to use 90% of the time. But now with these new insulations, this down insulation, it's like that all of a sudden that had to change my paradigm. I'm like, well, now you can use down for almost pretty much anything. You know, we went so far. So, you know, Adam Foss and I talked about that comfort lab. Like, we went back, did a video last year where we got in that comfort lab. They drove the temperature down to, I think, like 25 ambient. And we had these big cattle troughs of water, and they froze the water. And so the water, it was frozen like an inch thick, broke the ice with a hammer. And then with a clothing system that we're talking about, like didn't have the Puffy on yet, but got in the water like with our hiking clothes on. Stayed in there for 5 minutes and drove our body core temp down because we'd swallowed these little microchips. And then got out, and so you're soaked. And you're thinking, well, the first thing I want to do is like strip those clothes off. But depending on where you are, what you're doing, like maybe, do you have extra clothes or can you build a fire? Chances are you can't. So we just put this puffy jacket and pants directly over that soaking wet clothing. And then got in the down sleeping bag, to your point earlier about it wetting out.
Yeah.
Just losing its loft.
Yeah.
And you could tell by the way we reacted, but also the metrics of the RFID chip. They're like, our body core temp stopped dropping, started coming back. Cognitive function started coming back, which means you can make better decisions in the wilderness. But it's like, that is your immediate course of action. And now it's like, okay, we've stabilized, the initial shock of whatever, like falling in a creek or swimming or whatever. We're not going to die of hypothermia now. Now we're just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We can dry this out with just our body heat. And, now let's build the fire. Now let's build the shelter. Now let's hike back to the truck, whatever the case may be.
Wow, what a great test.
I mean, these puffy jackets, to me, I consider them part of my survival kit.
Yeah.
So it's like, your mind's your best tool. Then you got some other survival tools. But like this puffy jacket, like that and a rain jacket, I know I can stay dry and stay warm. If you solve for those two, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, and so I showed you this. This isn't out yet, but this is like a lighter weight version. This is even lighter. So it's like one for the early season, one for the late season, right? So this is kind of piece number 6. And then the last 2 pieces are rain jacket and pant, right? So that rounds out 8 pieces. Now, we use Gore-Tex, all different kinds of Gore-Tex, depending on the application. I don't know if you're going to go back up and hunt grizz or brown bear with Kip, but we've got a burlier version. So this is dew point. We've got a burlier version of dew point for like those guys and guides who are busting alder and brush. And so it's 1.5 pounds for the set.
Really?
Jacket and pants, size large, it's 1.5 pounds.
This jacket is so light.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then we've got an even lighter one. I don't know if that was the one you wore on the Cocodona or not. But the Gore-Tex is just like, I mean, I've trusted my life to Gore-Tex. Dry suits and obviously rain gear. Like I always try to carry some type of rain jacket as well. I call rain gear like car insurance.
Yeah.
Especially like in this country.
It's usually at the bottom of my pack.
That's where it should live.
Yeah.
I hope to never wear it.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about rain gear. Like you kind of need it to save your life if you need it, but you hope to never need it.
There's some hunts where it never comes out, but I got it.
Yeah. I hope to never wear rain gear again ever in my life. But I wanted to show you this because I talked about those split garments.
Yeah.
So this is a really odd looking pair of rain pants, and I'll show you another pair here. So you can see the difference in color. So these are actually, in the rain pants, those are 2 different Gore-Texes. And in this pair of soft shell pants, these are 2 materials. And so these are called split garments. So when we have a concept, so let's say you and I talk and you're like, hey man, like such and such pant really, and you kind of frame up the concept. Like, here's the problem I'm having. Like, can you solve this? And we're like, all right. And maybe we come down to 2 fabrics and you don't know which one. Well, we'd make a split garment just like this and give it to you or a field tester or myself, and we'd go out. And the beautiful thing about this is on the same day, same environmental conditions, same activity, you can literally compare and contrast leg to leg. And you're like, this was more durable than this, or this dried out quicker than that, or, whatever. And when you do that, although it takes a little more time and costs a little more because the factory's got to do all this, you really start to dial in. So then when you get that intercept pant, that is the exact right fabric for you. Yeah. But this is kind of the level. So I talked about going into that comfort lab, and we can put treadmills in there and all kinds of stuff. So you start in the lab, you start to validate there, but you hunt in the field. So then you take these garments, you put them in the field, you start here, and then you start dialing it in. So then you get down to one fabric, then you get the design, then you get the fit, and then eventually it ends up on you and you kill that bull, right? Nobody has to know that,
right.
But like that is the level. And so we're putting on average 2 years of development into anything we do.
Incredible.
Some things 4 to 5. Like, it just depends. And sometimes I'm 3 years in and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. And like, you just got to kill the project.
Right.
You know, it's like, technology isn't there, or maybe it's too expensive or whatever. But that's the level to when the consumer gets it and they're, you know, hunting their elk or sitting in the tree stand hunting that blacktail, like that's the confidence they should have that like we've done our due diligence up front to like get them in the best thing we can.
Yeah. It's just what it takes. It's like, you know, my goal, no matter what the odds are, no matter what success rates are, I mean, my goal is to kill on every single hunt. And I'm not satisfied unless I do. It's like I want the animal that I'm after. I want an old animal. I want a mature animal. And I want to kill every time I go. That's my expectation. Anything less than that is a failure. I need my equipment and what I do has to allow me to have that goal and to have that be achievable, have that be realistic. And yeah, so it looks like we're on the same page with that.
Yeah.
So that's the 8-piece system, huh?
That's the 8-piece system. That's all you need. People think it's no more complicated than that. And they're like, 8 layers? I'm like, no, 8 pieces.
So
you need base layer.
Yep.
You need a pair of pants.
Okay.
So base layer, top and bottom.
Yep.
You need a pair of pants. You need active insulated top. You need some type of wind stopper. You need that static puffy jacket and a rain jacket and pant. That's it. 8 pieces.
Yeah.
And I think we've all just made it a little more complicated than it needed to be. And you know, there's lots of nuance with every one of those layers, but like at the end of the day, that's all you need.
Yeah.
So if you don't have all 8, start somewhere and then slowly over time you can get there.
Yeah.
You know, I think more importantly, people should go hunt and get experience and make sure they have everything exact. It's like you'll learn over time.
Right.
We sweat every little detail.
Right.
And a lot of them are going to go unnoticed by the consumer, but like I know me and the team, like we sweat every single detail. You never want to get the reputation of testing on your consumer. Like somebody's going to spend good money on something and we say, you know, it does this or that. Like it better deliver on that.
Yeah.
You know, and you can get away with a lot in the good weather, but you start going to the North Country and stuff, like it's uncompromising.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you're not calling for a rescue anytime soon. And so there's that aspect. But if all of a sudden, like you're distracted because the water's wicked up into your chest and like now maybe you got cold and then now maybe you're not shooting as accurately as you need to and you have to make like the best shot of your life.
Yeah.
I don't want to be to blame for that.
And whether it's on a bear hunt or in the mountains on an elk hunt, you got to punch that clock as long as you can every day. The more you're out there, the greater your odds of success. And Sitka, I think, from my experience, it helps keep you out there longer. I noticed like a lot of little things like that. Like 100 years ago, there was this jacket I used to wear, and it was because there's a big thing about, you know, your bow arm, and so it had a zipper right here, and it would just kind of suck it down.
I think I remember. I don't know who. Yeah, but I remember
like
that.
APX,
Yeah,
something like that. But
oh yeah,
what I remember about that zipper, this is why like details matter to me, is because it had that zipper, which had more fabric along the zipper, that would gather moisture on that, just on that seam right there. Mm-hmm. So your whatever you had on would get wet. Then it would just start wicking up, and it's like pretty soon you're all wet. But it was a great idea to suck that in so your bowstring's not hitting that.
Yep.
But this was supposed to be an all-weather jacket, and that was kind of sabotaging it. What I've noticed is I haven't noticed things like that kind of sabotage the goal in the Sitka designs. You know, it's just like everything works. Let me see something here. Yeah, so here's one thing. So this is a good design, and I'll just tell you, if you have underwear like this, and the ones I've had this seam was here, okay? Kind of comes like that. This seam holds moisture. When it holds moisture, when you're sweating, it holds sweat. When there's sweat, like on this side, that's rubbing. I've rubbed my ass raw because of sweat in this seam when I'm running, for hundreds of miles. So this design right here, that seam doesn't move like this, like your legs, your leg action moves those seams. So salt holding in these so I noticed stuff like that. And I hadn't looked at these because I don't think I even have any of these. But to me, I would look at this and be like, that's how it's supposed to work, because I can be active, I can sweat. That's not going to tear up my skin.
Yeah.
Little shit like that. It's not one big thing that gets you off the mountains. No. It's 100 little things. Great discussion, John. I mean, so impressed. I loved going through all this. I think people are going to, I'm like anybody else. I've tried everything. I've been through everything. Yes, I've been in the industry and I've had these relationships with other companies, but for whatever reason, I'm at this point right now, and to be able to share what I know, what I've learned, the hard lessons, and just to explain like this process to people, because I learned a lot today even, and it's like, I think it's just going to be very useful, and I think people are going to really enjoy it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, cool. Thanks.
Thanks. All right.